What are the limits on personal growth? Hi, I'm Mickey Dediger, and I realize that that question itself can seem odd for someone like me who works in supporting parents. Well, one reason I'm thinking about it today is because I recently read that a growing market in the publishing industry is directed to children from toddlers and up to the teens on the topic of personal development and anxiety, emotions, handling emotions, self-regulation. Now, that can seem like just another way of supporting children in their growth, but it had me wonder, what are the limits on personal growth? Um, I did a quick search to see if there's anything written on it, and I couldn't find anything. It's very unusual for anyone to bring up the topic of limits on personal growth. Um, and I can see it being relevant to how we raise our children. Uh, Now, of course, there are limits to personal growth. You know, anything that's alive will be bound by limits, and everything that grows is senescent, has a time when the growth slows and ceases. It's just nature, the arc of life, and the arc of anything that comes to life and lives and then ends its life. Now, our focus on this continuous growth, of course, is an artifact of the context we all find ourselves in, this modern world, the civilization we find ourselves in, where so much of the language and the metaphors inherent to that language are focused on progress, are focused on abundance, are focused on accumulation, are focused on expansion, and this understanding of a cornucopia that we technologically constantly develop so that we can access it. So we take this corporate need for continuous growth, the need to every quarter provide dividends to stockholders, shareholders, and then we turn that into an aspiration for humans, and now apparently for children as well, that personal growth is something that we're directing towards our children. Uh, and and again, it's true for us as it is for any life, that nothing grows forever, not even our skills and our capacities. So, we obviously watch our children grow from conception and all these beautiful changes that we can be a witness to as they take their first steps, their bodies grow, they become more capable, taller, whatever it might be. We can, if we're lucky, be present in that process and witness this tremendous expansion of their gifts and their physical capacities. And then, of course, there's a tremendous transformation that happens right before our eyes in adolescence when they go through these enormous transformations into something often unrecognizable to us and to them. Now, the word adolescent at its root means someone who's growing, someone who's ripening. So that's what's happening. It's this little seed that has grown and grown and grown, and now they reach a stage when that growth is turning into a ripening, and that's adolescence. Now, the stage after adolescence is adult, and the root meaning of the word adult is mature. So something that's ripened is now mature. It's someone who is grown. It's a grown up. Now, these words aren't taken from nowhere. They're taken from an understanding of our physiological, biological nature. And it helps as a parent to keep that in mind, that at some point, our children will be fully grown, will be mature, will be adults. And to parent as if that is true, to know that there is an end point to the growth, and to bind the way we raise them so that there's an understanding that our job as parents is done at a certain point. And what that point is will be different from all of us. What our understanding of what that looks like and how we support our child to go there, so that not only are they developing physically, but we support them in a emotional, spiritual, mental development that matches that physical change from childhood to the ripening process to maturation and being fully grown. Now, again, if personal growth is limitless, and if that's what we teach our children, you can be anything you want. The sky's the limit. Be all that you can be. It sets our child up for not being enough. It sets them up for feeling inadequate, or for a life as someone who never feels quite like a grown-up, someone who's continuously haunted by this sense that they are immature. Now, I know people who feel like that. You might know people who feel like that. And there's no, I'm not saying it's if this, then that, but certainly it's interesting to consider the possibility that the reason there's so many men and women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who feel immature, that it might be related to this sense of limitless growth that we all labor under, that we're never quite done. So does that mean that we are unchanged after a certain point? Of course not. And this is what I wanted to get to. There are limits to personal growth. I believe there are, but they're not limits to change. Change is constant. It happens all the time. Change is what is visited upon us all the time by life, by creation, by how things are. So rather than focusing on this personal growth that has no limit and that puts a stress on us and on our children, how about we focus on teaching our children to be graceful with change, to be resilient and adaptive, not to protect them against the way life wrestles with them, but to help them understand that the change which they grapple with will never cease. It'll have different flavors. It'll come suddenly or slowly. It'll be overpowering or gentle. It'll be welcome or unbidden. But whatever way it affects us, it will be a constant in their lives. So how can they then maintain their vitality in the face of these inevitable changes? How can they stay healthy, joyful, engaged, continuously learning, knowing as we do that life is full of hardships, full of suffering. We lose a job, we witness a dear friend die, we divorce, we have a conflict with a friend, we have financial distress, we feel isolation or loneliness. These changes come to all of us in different guises, and they come to our children as well. So we can become skilled at meeting change. We can teach our children to be skilled at engaging with the changing world, both by how we model it ourselves, our willingness to be changed, our willingness to let go, to yield, to be flexible, to surrender, to accept, to show humility, to be graceful in defeat, to acknowledge failure and mistakes, to be adaptable, to be flexible, and to do all of that with grace, with beauty, and acceptance. Yeah. So, teaching this to your child, the yielding and the surrender and the humility, is keeping alive understandings that come from a culture that is accepting of change, that is accepting that we're at the receiving end of life. We're not the masters or in control or commanders of life. We are a part of it, and we're often on the receiving end of a life that's so much bigger than each one of us is individually. And those understandings of how to be with change comes from cultures that recognize and abide by limits, cultures that do not hail endless financial growth or endless personal growth. Now, in the childhood years, our child is growing physically. They are learning how to be human beings. And so you will have, as a parent, ways of stewarding your child through this growth phase towards ripening and maturity. But beyond that, consider what it would mean to teach your child how to become skilled at accepting change and even welcoming it as a given in life and being graceful with the inevitability of the changes that come whenever they might come. Because one day your child will be fully grown, but he or she will never be unchanged by life. If you like this, please press like. And if you really like it, press subscribe and the bell button. You'll get notifications of future videos. But that's all for now. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.